Have you ever wondered if Planet Earth came with an operating manual? A guide to the fundamental rules that make everything, well, work? Today, we're going to flip through that manual. We're going to try and understand how our world really functions and what it's going to take to build a future that actually lasts.
So let's start with a fact that is so big, it's almost impossible to wrap your head around. In the vast, silent emptiness of our solar system, this is it. This beautiful blue-green marble is the only home for life we've ever found. It's not just some rock floating in space. It is a living, breathing world.
And here's where it gets even crazier. All of that incredible life, it's not spread all the way through the planet. No, it exists in this incredibly thin, fragile layer called the biosphere. I mean, think about it like this. If the Earth were an apple, the entire zone of life, everything we know, would be no thicker than the apple's skin. That's it. That's the whole show.
And that, right there, brings us to the heart of the problem. For most of human history, we kind of lived in balance with this delicate system. But that's changed. Our modern way of life, our unsustainable practices, are now putting the very life support system we all depend on at risk.
Okay, so if we're going to figure out how to fix things, we first need to understand how the machine is built. So let's break it all down to its most basic parts, the building blocks of life itself.
It all starts with a word we throw around all the time, the environment. But scientifically, it's incredibly precise. It's not just the pretty scenery outside your window. It's the whole web of everything, living and non-living, that surrounds and influences any living thing. It's like the stage, the actors, the script, and the lighting all rolled into one.
And we can basically split that whole environment into two main categories. If you stick with that play analogy, first you have the abiotic, or non-living stuff. This is the physical stage itself, the lights, the set, the temperature. And then you've got the biotic, or living components. Those are all the actors performing on that stage.
And here you can see what that looks like in the real world. The stage, the abiotic side, is set by essentials like sunlight and water. And the actors, the biotic side, include everyone from the plants making energy to the animals eating it and the decomposers that recycle the whole lot. The big takeaway here isn't the lists themselves, though. It's the constant interaction between them. You just can't have the play without both the stage and the actors working together.
All right, so we've got our parts list, the stage and the actors. But just having a list of car parts doesn't make a car run, right? So how does this all actually work together? Well, this is where we get to the engine of life itself, the ecosystem.
This is really the key question, isn't it? We've got all these pieces: sunlight, water, plants, animals. What's the invisible force that organizes them into a system that actually functions?
And the answer is the ecosystem. Now, the most important thing to get here is that an ecosystem isn't a place, it's a process. It's this dynamic system that's defined by two really basic rules: how energy flows through it and how materials get cycled within it.
And here's the simple but really profound difference between the two. Energy, which comes from the sun, is kind of like a meal. It gets eaten, it gets used up, and eventually it's just lost as heat. It's a one-way street. But the materials, the building blocks like carbon and water, they're more like dinner plates. They get used, they get washed, and they're put right back on the shelf to be used again tomorrow. A healthy ecosystem is the ultimate recycling plant. Absolutely nothing is wasted.
So that brings us to us, the human element. Our relationship with these natural systems hasn't always been the same. It's changed dramatically over time, and that's what's led us to the complicated spot we're in today.
You can really think of our changing relationship with nature as a story in 3 acts. Act 1 was determinism, where we basically saw ourselves as completely at the mercy of the environment. Then came Act 2, possibilism. This is where technology gave us this illusion of control, the idea that we could bend nature to do whatever we wanted. And now we're living in Act 3, environmentalism. This is the hard-won wisdom that we are not the masters of nature, but a part of it, and that cooperation is really our only path forward.
So, with all that hard-won wisdom, what's the game plan? How do we actually fix the problems we created and build a future that can actually last?
The guiding principle for that future is right here, in this classic definition. At its core, it's a really simple, powerful idea about fairness. It just means we can't cash in the planet's resources today if it means our own kids and grandkids can't meet their needs tomorrow. It's about leaving the world at least as good as we found it.
When you boil it all down, sustainability is just the capacity to endure.
It means we have to design systems, whether we're talking about a farm, a city, or a whole economy, that can keep running forever without using up the very things that keep them going. It's about living off of nature's income, not draining its savings account.
And this isn't just some vague concept. There's a pretty clear roadmap. The source material lays out these key areas, and what you'll notice is how interconnected they all are. You can't really protect forests without also addressing poverty. You can't manage water if you don't make agriculture sustainable. You kind of have to tackle it all together.
So, here we are. We understand the basic parts, we understand how the system works, and we have the blueprint for a better future. The only question left is the one that's going to define our time. Now that we know how, what are we going to choose to build?